2025 plus 4Runner owners, it's your time. What do we got for them, Sean?
Brand new speaker kits from Alpine. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cliff and
Sean
from TrailGrid Pro. It's a big day today. Big day. Big day.
Big day.
Yeah, ooh, big day, yes.
Big day.
You see what's behind me, what's behind us, a 2025 4Runner, so this is going to be applicable to 2025 plus, 6th generation Toyota 4Runner owners, speaker kits.
Speaker kits.
Speaker kits from Alpine dropping right now, and there's a lot that we need to go into in this intro portion, more than usual, because things have changed with the 6th generation 4Runner.
They have.
Yeah.
They really have.
So if you had a 5th generation 4Runner, whether you had the bass audio or JBL-amplified, you had the same amount of speakers.
Yep.
Well, that's changed.
It has.
So let's walk us through that, Shawnee.
So in the 6th generation, they have 2 audio systems. They have the JBL and then they have bass audio. JBL has 12 speakers. The bass audio now has only 8 speakers.
Right. So there's a difference, 12 versus 8. So why is that? Well, you're getting more with the JBL amplified system than you used to, and the bass audio still gives you the same amount of speakers that you had before. But what does that do for our speaker bundles? Well, it wildly changes things.
It does.
So we're going to have 2 kits, 12 speaker kit for the JBL amplified and an 8 speaker kit for the bass audio.
Yep.
So not rocket science.
Nope.
But just figured we needed to go through that today. And we're going to have 2 different styles of kits, right?
Yep.
So we've got some funny looking speakers here, Sean. Why are these speakers so large?
They're not funny looking, but they
true.
are. So, we usually use a 6x9 to replace the factory 6x9. Alpine has now released their 8-inch mid-bass driver that fits perfectly in our Toyotas.
So in the Toyota 4Runner front doors right now, it's a weird size. It's kind of in between a 6x9 and a 7x9.
Yeah, it's an oddball size.
It's an oddball size.
It's a lot of plastic too.
Right. So we've always talked about this, more speaker, more better, for lack of a better term. So we have the 8-inch woofer.
Yep.
That's going to replace 6x9, 7x9, 7x8, whatever it is, that odd size that's in the front door. So it gets you a lot more speakers. So talk about how that's an improvement over the factory speakers that are in there now.
Well, without getting too technical, music wants to be linear.
Yep.
So a round speaker will give you more linear and more acoustically correct sound coming out of it, is really the basis of it.
Okay,
so,
cool.
And a round speaker can make more mid-bass, more bass than a oval speaker.
Okay, perfect.
Is really what it comes down to.
But what we're also going to have is your traditional 6x9 option. So that's what we have now with our other kits, a traditional 6x9 option, which is obviously going to be a wild improvement over the current factory setup.
Yep.
So you're going to have a couple choices as far as what you want to put in your front doors. We're going to have a 8-inch woofer kit and a 6x9 kit. And then that kit is going to be broken up into JBL amplified and bass audio. All right, Sean, so we're going to go into more detail as far as what's exactly in each kit, whether you have JBL amplified or bass audio, but just to make it crystal clear to the viewers, what we have here on the table is just imagine this table was kind of cut in half here between the 6x9s and the 8s. We're representing the JBL amplified kit, whether you get the 6x9s or the 8s. So pretty much right down the middle and this over is your complete 6x9 kit.
Yep.
Right? So if you have JBL amplified, complete 6x9 kit, over here on this side, if you get the 8-inch woofer, that's your complete kit. The only difference between the 2 kits is right here.
Yep.
Yeah, everything else is the same. So if you have JBL amplified, you're getting the 6x9s, the 6.5s, 4 tweeters, and 4 3-inch. We'll go in later. Obviously the difference there, if you have a bass audio, you get 8 speakers, so there's a little bit difference. We'll go into that, but just want to make that crystal clear as far as what we're representing here on the table. All right, Sean, why don't you do us a favor, go over what we have on the table, and then differentiate between if you have a JBL amplified system or a bass audio, what you'd get in each kit.
So starting out with the 12 speaker system, you're going to pick whether you want the 6x9s or the 8s. In the rear doors, you're going to get a set of 6.5-inch components. So you'll get a set of 6.5-inch mid-bass drivers with a pair of tweeters. Now in the front A-pillars, We completely replaced the factory JBL tweeters with the Alpine tweeters. In the front dash, we'll be doing a set of the Alpine 3-inch coaxial speakers. And then also in the rear hatch, the difference between the 5th gen and the 6th gen is they went from a 6.5 in the rear hatch to now a 3-inch in the rear hatch. So full 12 speakers replaced. We replaced them all other than the factory subwoofer. You're going to get everything needed to completely do it, from the speaker brackets to the bolts to the nuts to the screws. So literally soup to nuts.
Yep. So for those counting at home, right? So for these, you're making a choice. So you either get the 6x9s or the 8-inch woofer. So we'll call it 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So those are your 12 speakers if you have a JBL-amplified 4Runner. Worth noting, with the JBL-amplified, you do have the center removable pill speaker and your dash. That's not removed. Obviously, that stays just the way it is.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the 12 speaker taken care of, and now let's talk about the bass audio 8 speaker.
Yeah, so the 8 speaker, these will remain the same. Pick the 6x9s or choose the 8-inch mid-bass drivers. The rear door speakers will switch from a component style speaker to a coaxial, so that is, you know, your whole speaker in one, tweeter in the middle, and you will still receive all 4 of the 3-inch Alpine speakers. The tweeters basically just completely go away because you do not have any place to put those in any factory location.
So just to recap, so again, bass audio, you're going to choose between your 6x9s or your 8-inch. So 2. We'll have a coaxial, so it'll look like this, but there'll be a tweeter in the middle. So that's 4, 6, 8. So those are your 8 speakers in the bass audio. Let's talk about the bracket, Sean.
Brackets.
This has been a big undertaking by us in a good way.
In order in the making, maybe a
year
little
plus,
more.
Yeah.
Yep.
To be able to bring the manufacturing of our speaker brackets in-house, we control everything so that we deliver products to you fast and at a great price. All of these speaker brackets have been designed, engineered, manufactured by us. Actually, right on the other side of this wall over here. They can't see it, but that's where everything happens. All of these speaker brackets, which make these speaker kits possible and make it a clean plug-and-play installation. You don't have to screw anything into doors or anything like that. It's perfect fit, and we're super excited about that. And that, you know, I think we went full bore with that about a month ago, 2 months ago, where everything was installed. So super pumped about that. Lots of other solutions on the way, but that's how this is possible, which is awesome.
One of the biggest things I'm proud of is the actual, so now, instead of just kind of pushing the tweeter in, now we actually use, and we've designed a 3D printed tweeter mount that locks in just like the factory would have, and I'll show you that during the install of the kit here.
Yeah, so they're perfect fit tweeter cups specifically for that tweeter, specifically for the 4Runner. So it just snaps right into place. Again, perfect fit. It's awesome. Well, lots of cool stuff, Sean. I'm super pumped for this installation, super pumped for this solution for the 6th gen 4Runner community. I think the question just remains, which kit are we installing today? The 6x9 or the 8-inch woofer? Yeah. Super.
I think I'm going to go with the 8-inch.
Yeah, let's go with the 8-inch. Go big or go home. We're going to be putting in the 8-inch kit and the JBL-amplified Voodoo Blue Beauty back there. Sean, take it away, man.
Let's go do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so now I've removed the 6x9 kit. So what you see in front of you is exactly what you're going to get with the 8-inch 12-speaker kit. So let's go ahead and go over some of the tools that are going to be necessary to complete disassembly, installation, as well as reassembly. So we're going to need a screw gun or Phillips head screwdriver, a socket wrench, a 10mm socket. If you have an extension, that will help. A panel removal tool, and again, I like using the metal panel removal tools, especially for some of the intricate details that we're going to get into later. A 10mm open-ended wrench, a small number 1 or small number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of cutters, and some wire ties, and I'll go over why we need those wire ties later in the installation. So with that being said, going over the kit, gone over the tools that are necessary. Let's hop right into actually assembling the speaker kits, mounting the speakers to the brackets, getting everything kind of prepped and ready to go before we begin disassembly of our 6th Gen 4Runner. All right, guys, so assembly. There is some assembly that is required to complete our bundles, but we send you absolutely everything that you're gonna need. As a matter of fact, we send you a little extra. So let's start with putting our 8-inch mid-bass drivers into our brackets. Then we'll move to the 6.5s, then we'll move to the 3s, and we don't need to do anything with the tweeters. They're gonna come already pre-installed in the 3D printed brackets, as well as the harnesses are already gonna be pre-done, so we don't need to worry about the tweeters. So whether you have the 8s or the 6x9s, this is gonna be the same. We're gonna screw it in, we're gonna run our harness outside and get everything done. So let's just hop right into it, get everything mounted. So first thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna take either our 8-inch speakers or our 6x9s. We're gonna grab one of the speaker adapter harnesses, get that plugged in. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we have our harness plugged in. It's not gonna pop off. We wanna lay it in. Now there is a channel in our bracket that allows it to sit and not get cut. So we wanna just kinda line up the middle of the speaker where the harness is gonna pop out right into that channel. So once you have that, you can go ahead and grab some of your black 3/4 inch Phillips head screws and then just kind of screw it right in. So a little bit of a tip when you're installing the speakers, you want to be very, very careful and not puncture the speaker. So a suggestion is kind of placing it off the side of the table so it can stay flat and you have a nice hard surface to kind of press down on. So from here, just want to make sure it's all lined up. And then begin screwing it in. Now you're going to have 4 on each speaker. So once you've got it screwed in, should look like that with your harness popping out. So we can set that one aside. Go ahead and start your other speaker. So we want to make sure the red with the 1/4 inch is going to positive, the black with the 1/8 inch is going to negative. You really can't screw that up because they're only going to fit on exactly one way. Again, we want to drop our wiring into the channel, just kind of confirm that we're as straight as possible. And then we can actually go ahead and start screwing this one in. So there we go. So now our front door mid-bass drivers are done. We could move on to our 6.5s for the rear door. Exact same process. We're gonna plug in our speaker harness. Again, black goes to negative. Red goes to positive. There we go. We have a channel in the 6.5 as well. So just drop that in there. So make sure we're good. There we go. Kind of line it up for the middle. Now we'll grab our other bag of black 3/4 inch Phillips head screws. So for a little bit of clarity, you don't have to do this prior to. You could actually install the bracket into the door, then install the speaker. It's completely up to you. I more just wanted to show you here on the table, since this is a brand new kit for a brand new generation 4Runner. As a note, just you can do it either way. It's however you feel the most comfortable with doing it. So let's continue on mounting the 6.5 in the bracket. Like I said, exactly the same as the 6x9 or the 8. Okay, now we have one of our rear doors. We can move on to our other rear door. Black to ground, red to positive. Tighten the screws down. There we go. So now all 4 brackets for the doors are done. Now we can move on to the 3-inch speakers for the dash and the rear hatch. Again, you'll get all the bracketry for that included in the kit. So these are made out of acrylic. This is a covering to protect the acrylic to not allow it to scratch during shipping or anything like that. Your choice. You can peel it off, you can not peel it off. Just remember, you will be able to see it through the top of the dash if you look directly down. So I would suggest popping the protective layer off. So just get a fingernail underneath there and just kind of peel it away. So you can just kind of peel it away and then kind of peel away over our etched in logo. So the rear hatch, not as important to remove it, but it'll just look like that. All right, now that we have our protective layer off, we're going to grab one of our 3-inch Alpine speakers. We're going to take our adapter, put it on top of the speaker, line up the holes in the speaker, and go ahead, put a bolt and a nut on each hole. There should be 4 of those. So go ahead and just tighten those by hand for now, but we're going to get all 4 of those in there. Okay, so now we just want to make sure we're good. I'm going to grab our #1 Phillips head screwdriver and tighten them up. Now, one thing you want to be super duper careful with is these are acrylic. You don't need to tighten them till the end of time. You just want to make sure they're snugged up. So now we have our #1 Phillips. I like to just kind of hold on to that nut from the back and just snug them up each individually. And there we go. Should look like that. So let's go ahead, grab another one, do the exact same thing, and we'll use these for our dash. But you know what? We're not going to worry about taking the paper off for the hatch. You're never going to see them. Not a big deal. Drop it on top. One thing I should probably note is that the magnet is very close to where you're putting on that nut. Just be careful. That magnet will try to pull that nut away as you're putting it on. Okay, let's tighten each one of these down. So there we go. So now for the final 2, we'll grab the other bag. Go ahead and dump that out on our table. We'll grab our speakers and we'll just kind of go right at it. Get these all mounted, and then we'll be ready to begin disassembly. Now we have everything ready to go. Last thing we need to do is put all of our harnesses on. Now you can do that now. You can do it when you're getting ready to plug it into the actual vehicle. completely up to you. I'm just going to plug them in now just to make it a little easier. Again, red goes to positive, black goes to ground. So this way I can be ready just to pop them right in once I remove that factory speaker. So now all of our speakers are prepped for our 12 speaker system. So we have our front dash, our rear hatch, our rear door, our front door, as well as all of our tweeters. So we're gonna go ahead, hop right into disassembly. I'm gonna start with the driver's side. I'm gonna do the dash and the A-pillar first, then move to the front driver's door and then the rear driver's door. And I'll show you up here on the table exactly how to remove the tweeters from both the A-pillar and the rear door and how to install them. So let's hop right into it and get that done. So now we're ready to begin disassembly. Like I said, I'm going to start with the A-pillar and the dash speaker. If you have the base audio speaker, you can just go ahead and jump directly to the dash speaker. So first things are, what tools are we going to need? We're going to need a 10mm socket, 10mm open-ended wrench, as well as our panel tool. Now, whether you use an impact gun or a socket wrench, totally up to you. But so first thing we're going to do is there is a cover on top portion of the A-pillar. We just need to go ahead and slide our panel tool up and remove that cover. Once we have that removed, that will reveal a 10mm bolt. Let's go ahead and either grab your impact gun or your socket wrench and remove that. So we'll get that out. So from there, I prefer to just kind of gently pull away the weather stripping just a hair. And now we can just kind of get in there and pop that A-pillar off. So one thing you do want to be cautious about is the wire is extremely short that is holding that factory tweeter. So we just kind of need to get in here with our fingernail and pop that plug. It may actually release the tweeter altogether, which it has done in this case. So the tweeter actually popped out, which is fine. Not a big deal at all. So now we can actually get at it and unplug our tweeter. So now that we have the tweeter and the A-pillar removed, we can move on to the dash speaker. Again, we're going to grab our pry tool and just gently get it underneath, pry up. You're going to hear some pops. That is the clips releasing, and it will hinge up. So again, when we go back to install it, it's going to go in and then straight down. So from there, we have our speaker on top of the dash. Pretty tight, so that's why I like using a open-ended wrench. Just go ahead, get it on there. Once you start removing it, you know, you get 1 or 2 turns in, you should be able to go ahead and just do that by hand with your fingers. So, and there's one of the screws. Grab the other one. Now you just want to be careful of the windshield. And then we can grab that one with our fingers there. There we go. So now we have them both out. So now we can lift this speaker up out of the dash and release the harness from that. So there we go. So now we have dash speaker done, as well as our tweeter. Let's go ahead, grab our brand new dash speaker and just get that right installed. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the front driver's door as well as the rear driver's door. And then we're going to go back over to the table and I'm going to show you exactly how to mount the tweeters into the A-pillars as well as the rear door. So let me go grab that dash speaker and get that installed. So now we have our dash speaker. We can go ahead, plug it in and drop it in. So just again, gently. So now that we have our speaker wire connected, we can just kind of drop that back into the dash, place our new Alpine speaker with the bracket back on top. Now you can kind of look in the windshield and kind of make sure you're lined up with the factory holes. Drop each screw back in. I always suggest starting everything by hand. That way nothing gets stripped out. Now we can just tighten it up with our 10mm open-ended wrench. And again, don't over tighten. They are acrylic brackets. They can handle, just so much actual pressure. So now we're done with our dash speaker. Now, if you have the bass audio and you're only replacing that, you can go ahead and put your grill back on. I'm gonna hold off until we get the A-pillar tweeter in and back mounted until I put that back on. So from there, we'll just put this up. So from there, we can move on to the driver's door. Pretty simple removal process. You just have to remember a couple of things. Now, whether you have the JBL system or the base system, it's exactly the same. So there are some things we need to take off. So first thing, we want to take off the mirror cover. So that is just pull and release. So some clips on there, just make sure that they all come out. They should. So next we're going to use our panel removal tool, remove the cover inside the door handle. So again, just pop it out and remove. That will reveal one screw. Next is this trim panel here needs to come out. So just kind of push it towards the front of the vehicle. And you see it's got clips that when we put it back in, it'll just slide backwards and hold into place. Again, one screw here. Go ahead and remove the door light by putting your panel tool in, again, towards the front of the door panel and pulling it out, and then just unplug it. And then now for the part that may cause you a little stress, we need to remove the door lock and window switch. Just go slow, be very careful. It's pretty thin, so you just want to kind of get your tool in there, lift up gently, and then just kind of go along and lift it up. Now on the driver's side, you'll have 2 plugs. On the passenger side, you'll have 1. Just unplug it, set it somewhere safe, and again, just go slow. So that will now reveal 1 screw. So let's go ahead and get these 3 screws out. So now we have all 3 screws out. So now one last thing that we have to remove, and that is a push clip at the very top corner here. Just push that in and pull it right out. I like to reset them prior to putting it down. So now everything is off of the door panel itself. Now we need to remove it. Just grab gently and pull towards you to release all the clips. So just like that. So now we'll kind of just continue to pull off of the door. So now we have 1 plug here. And then we're going to go ahead and remove our door lock cable as well as our door handle cable. So now let's actually remove our speaker. And again, whether you have the JBL system or the base system, this is the same. Really what we're doing here is whether we're doing the 6x9 Alpines or we're doing the 8-inch Alpines. So either way, no big deal. So first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and unplug the factory speaker. And then we have 4 10mm bolts. You can use a Phillips head or a 10 mil, either. So let's go ahead and get those out. So we got all 4 of those out, and then we just need to remove the speaker. Now, one thing you'll notice, I have our 8-inch speaker here, is what a difference in the magnet it is. So now we can take these, set these aside, go ahead and grab either our Alpine 6x9 or in this case our Alpine 8-inch speaker. It'll go right back into the location. Exactly. Now we provide you with some brand new 1-inch screws to reattach. You can even use your factory screws if you so choose. So that's what I'm going to do in this case. I'm just going to go ahead and use the factory ones. So let's just tighten those down just a hair. There we go. Get the bottom ones in. And there we go. So now our new speaker is installed. Last thing we have to do is just plug it in. So from here, you can go ahead and reassemble the door. So we'll go ahead and grab our door, get it back on, get everything reattached, and place it back on. So before we place it back on, we want to make sure that we drop our light down through the factory opening. There we go. So we want to make sure we plug in everything that we unplugged when we took the door panel off. So get that one in. Then we want to make sure we get our door handle, which is the green, and our door lock, which is the white. Remember, white always goes on top. And then make sure that both our window switch and our door lock switch harness is popping out. Then we're just going to kind of line it up. You'll feel where it's supposed to be, and then you can just kind of lock it back on by just tapping. So now we're locked back on. We can go ahead and replace our 3 screws, put all our cover panels back on, our light back in. So let's start with the screws. The bigger silver ones will go here and here. And our smaller black one will actually go into the handle. So from there, grab our light switch, plug back in, and installed. Grab our window and door lock switch. Pretty easy, white, black. Get those both plugged back in and locked down. Now we can put in our door handle cover. Just push that back in. Put in our mirror cover. That's done. Put in our push pin. Push that so it's flat. Just be careful you don't push it all the way in because that's what will release it. And finally, our trim piece, just kind of get it in, push towards the outside of the door panel. So now that we've completed the disassembly, the installation, and the reassembly on the driver's front door, let's go ahead and move to the driver's rear. So now we're at the rear door, very, very similar to the front door. We're going to remove this, and remove the window switch. So go ahead and just get this started. Remove the trim cover. Let's remove the door handle cover. And again, just go slow, be gentle when we remove our window switch. This one is even smaller than the driver's side. So just kind of lift it up, one single black plug, and unplug it. Same amount of screws, we still have the 3. So let's go ahead and take those out. So there we go, all 3 screws are out. So one of the differences is we don't have anything for the mirror, we don't have the push pin, and the light doesn't really pop out very friendly on the rear doors. So we're actually just going to go ahead, pop the doors off, get all the plugs undone, and then remove the light from there. So same way as the front door, just kind of grab, gently pull forward all the way, and then we're just going to pull out and release it completely. Same thing, we have a single plug on the inside. We have our door lock cable as well as our door handle cable to undo. So we can go ahead and get those out. So that kind of reveals these 2 plugs here for all the electronics and the light. So let's go ahead and unplug that one. And then we can kind of reach down and unplug the light switch. Now I'm going to put the rear door panel on the table, show you exactly what we're going to need to do to mount the new tweeter and the crossover and stuff like that. So I'm going to take that over there. So now we need to remove the factory speaker. Just like on the front door, want to unplug the speaker, and then you have 3 10mm bolts on this one holding that in. Again, you can use Phillips and or 10. And then we'll just go ahead and remove that speaker. So again, you can kind of see the difference here in the 2 speakers. So we'll set this one aside. Now, the speaker wire, when you mounted it, you know, the harness will be facing up, and you can just stick it right to where it goes. Again, we provide you with new bolts. You can use your factory bolts if you would like. It's completely up to you. So get those a little tightened up here. And get this bottom one in here. Okay, so now our new speaker is nice and tight. Want to remember to plug our harness in. So now we're plugged in. So now from here, let's actually go back to the table. I'm going to show you how to install the tweeters on the rear door as well as in the A-pillar. So now I want to take some time and go over exactly how we mount our new Alpine tweeters into the factory A-pillar and the rear door on the JBL system. So if you have a base audio system, you can go ahead and just skip to the next portion. So first of all, we have our A-pillar and our rear door. As far as getting them out, pretty easy. So there's 3 plastic lock tabs. I just gently bend out on each one of the tabs and remove it. Now you'll notice that our tweeters and the factory tweeters are basically exactly the same with how they mount. They have the little crown here on top and then the 2 on either side here. So set that aside. Now, and these will only go in one way because of how they are. So my suggestion is stick the 2 sides here at the bottom first, then push in the top. So kind of get one side in, so now it's kind of tilting, and then just gently press down until you hear that clip. Now that thing is in there, it's super duper solid, it's not going to go anywhere. Exact same process for the driver's rear door. Now with this one, same thing, kind of just gently pry away at the plastic tabs. Now we're going to have to unplug our speaker from the door, set that one aside, And again, exact same process to plug it in. Go kind of get those open so you have that kind of ability to pivot it, and then just press it down, locks it in. It's super solid, not going to go anywhere. Now, as far as the crossovers for both, we want to make sure that obviously we plug it in to the door as well as the tweeter. So we have some excess wire here. So you're just going to plug it in male to female, male to female. You can't screw it up. So we're just going to get those both plugged in. And then make sure our plastic covers are on top of both. Go ahead and plug in to the factory. And then here we're going to go ahead and just kind of do some wire management and kind of keep it down. So we're going to go ahead and grab 2 wire ties and wire tie it to the factory cabling here, just making sure it stays kind of out of the way of everything. We don't want to be anywhere near any of the holes where the door panel will bolt back in. So I can get one there. And one down here. So just make sure you have all your wiring nice and clean. Cut off your excess. As far as the A pillar, exact same thing. Plug our male into the female and our other male into the female there. And then I'll show you next how to go ahead and reinstall the door panel as well as reinstall the A pillar. So now let's go ahead and put our rear door back on. Remember, we have our door lock, door handle, our light, and then our main harness that we need to reconnect. So I'm going to start with the light. Get that plugged back in. Now move on to the main harness and the door handle. Get that locked back in, and then the door lock itself here. So now everything's back on, just like the front door. You'll kind of place it and you'll feel when it's where it's supposed to be, and then you can just go ahead and push everything back in. So just make sure, give it a little tap whole way around. So now door panel's back on. Let's go ahead and get the 3 screws back in. Again, remembering the 2 silver screws will go here and here. There we go. And our 1 black screw will go behind the door handle here. Now we can start putting our pieces back on. I'll start with our window switch. Just plug it in, line it up, just push down, trim for the door handle, lock that in, and finally this trim panel, and just push out towards the outside of the door panel. So now we're done with the rear door panel. Let's move back up to our A pillar, just get that all installed and get our dash cover back on. So let's go ahead and get our A pillar reinstalled with our new tweeter in there. Now, one thing I will tell you is that when you reinstall it, you want to make sure these tabs are located properly. So I'll show you all that. So let's just get it up here. Get it plugged in to our factory connector. So now we have a little bundle here. You can just stick that right along the side. And then now we want to kind of gently locate those tabs, and then we'll just have to kind of move the wiring out of the way and then lock that in. So you'll be able to tell that it's locked in because everything will kind of just go into place, and then push it in. Go ahead, put your weather stripping back up. Grab your 10mm bolt that holds that in. Make sure it's tight. And then we just have to throw our cover back on. So if it ever does pop off on you, the little hanging tab goes right at the bottom here, and then just push it back on. A-pillar's back on. Now we can go ahead and grab our dash speaker grill. Just kind of slides back into position and push it down. Super duper simple. Now we're done with the driver's dash, front door and rear door. Let's go ahead, hop over to the passenger side, do the exact same thing all the way down through, and then we can move on to the hatch. All right guys, now we're in the passenger side. I have all my tools, all my speakers that I need to complete everything up here. So exactly the same as the driver's side with one exception. So on the passenger side, there are two 10mm bolts in the grab handle that we're gonna have to remove. Other than that, everything is exactly the same. So let's start with the A-pillar, pop off the two covers. And let's get those two 10mm bolts out. So now we got the two 10mm out. Let's get the weather stripping down and out of the way and just gently pop out. Go ahead and just either pop the tweeter or unplug it from the plug. A lot of times it's just easier to pop the tweeter out. So since we're here, let's go ahead and pop the new tweeter in. So same as I showed you on the table, it's the exact same way. Let's get the two sides in, get them in so they kind of pivot, and then pop that in. So now it's nice and tight in there, not going to go anywhere. So we can set that to the side for now. So now let's go ahead and replace our dash speaker. Again, panel popper, just like the driver's side. Pop that out. Remove those two 10mm bolts holding it in. And then just go ahead and remove the speaker, unplug the harness. Grab our new 3-inch speaker, plug it back in, and we can drop it right back in there. And again, you can kind of look in the windshield and just kind of make sure you're lined up. And start those bolts by hand. And then tighten up your bolts. Just remember, don't over tighten them. You want them snug. There we go. So now we can go ahead and plug in our crossover network. Then we'll plug in our tweeter. Again, male to female, female to male. So let's get those plugged in. Making sure everything's covered. There we go. Now we can hide our cabling and our crossover. back behind. And then we just want to, again, line up those line everything up and in. Get our weather stripping kind of back in place there. Look in, yep, both my bolts are lined up. Now that our A-pillar's back in, let's put our covers back on. There's one. There's two. And now our dash grille. All right. So now our entire front dash and A-pillars are completely done. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the passenger front door. Again, exactly like the driver's front door. So let's get right to it. So now passenger front door, like I said before, exactly the same as the driver's. So we need to remove everything that we need to remove. So let's start with the mirror pillar cover. Pop that straight out. Remove our little lock pin, just reset that now. Remove our door handle trim. Remove our trim here, sliding it back. Get our light out and unplugging. And then removing our window and door lock switch. And again, just be extremely gentle, go slow. There you go. And unplug both of those. So now we need to remove the 3 screws, just like in the driver's door. There we go. So now, again, just like the driver's door, just kind of pop it out. And then remove your door lock, your door handle, and you are all done. So there we go. Set that to the side. Now we can focus right in on the speakers. Unplug. Again, you can use a Phillips head or a 10 mil. Doesn't really matter. Go ahead and remove that factory speaker. Grab your new already built speaker. Place it right in there. And we do send you bolts, but you can use the factory if you so choose. Completely up to you. And the bottom one here. Speaker is back in. Now we just want to make sure we plug it in. So there we are good. If you want to do any wire cleanup, wire tie, anything, kind of make it nice, go ahead and do that. But now our speaker is installed. We can just go ahead and put our door panel back on. So just like the driver's door, want to make sure we kind of feed that light wire down through and it's out. Want to make all our connections to our door lock as well as our door handle. So again, green on the bottom, white on the top. Make sure they're locked in. and then you can kind of get it into position. Now I almost forgot one of the most important parts, making sure our door lock and our window switch are out, but then once, just kind of push it into position. There we go. Everything's back on. Grab our screw gun. So next we want to go ahead and put all 3 screws back in. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. And just remember, the black one is always for the door handle. Got that in. Now we can start putting everything back. Go ahead and grab our trim piece here. Grab our window switch, and again, black goes to black, white goes to white. Then we have our mirror trim, and lastly, our push clip. So now our front passenger door is complete. We can move over to the passenger rear door and get that one all done. So now moving on to the passenger rear door, again, exactly the same as the driver's rear. We're going to take everything off, remove the screws, and then remove the door panel. So let's start with the door handle. Go ahead and slide the trim panel off, and then remove the window switch. Again, just be careful, go slow. So now we can remove the 3 screws. So there we go. We don't really have to do anything else. We'll just leave the light in, unplug that once we get the door panel off. Here, go ahead, release the cables holding the door lock as well as the door handle. Then we have our harness here, and finally the light switch. Set that to the side. We can do the tweeter after we get the door speaker in. So now we're ready. Go ahead, just like the driver's door, unplug the speaker harness, remove the 3 screws. Pop that factory one out, and just go ahead and replace it right with the new one. And then let's make sure we plug in our new speaker. So now we're going to go ahead and do just like we did on the driver's rear door. Go ahead and get this tweeter out. Get her unplugged. Grab our new tweeter and crossover. There we go. Nice and locked in there. plug in our crossover, then plug in our tweeter. And just double check, make sure that the rubber is covering. And now we can go ahead and wire tie all of our wires back, however you want to do that. Now again, this is just for the JBL amplified vehicles. If you have one of the base audio vehicles, you're not going to have to worry about any of the tweeters, whether that be the A-pillar or the rear door. Cut all the excess off. So now we have everything in. We can go ahead and get our door back on. We can tell our tweeter is nice and tight, not going to rattle, not going to give us any kind of issues. So we'll just go in reverse order. Plug in the light. Plug in our harness. And then plug in our door lock and our door handle. Line our door back up here. Make sure everything pops back into place. Just look, make sure that all the holes are lined up. So you can grab your screws. Just remember that black one is for the door handle. And then replace everything that we pulled off when we were disassembling it. So now we're all done installing our speakers in the passenger rear door. It's time to finally move on to the hatch and finish our install. So we're at our very last step of installing the new 25 plus Toyota 4Runner bundles. Now this step doesn't matter if you're JBL or base audio, you're going to replace these. So pretty simple process. There are a couple things you need to keep in mind. There is some very thin plastic as well as some pretty sharp metal on the inside of this handle here. So just keep that in mind when you're taking it apart. So first thing we want to do is we want to remove this plastic shroud over the hatch lock. So just kind of gently pry on either side, and then we're going to wiggle it down. So you'll see it's got two pins that kind of go up and then two that go straight in. From there, now this doesn't have to be removed, but it's a small, just little cover panel. I'm going to just remove it just because. And then finally, we have our power liftgate switches as well as our pull down. If you don't have the power liftgate, there'll probably just be a pocket in here. But this is one of those things where it's pretty thin plastic. You just want to be careful. So just gently kind of pry and start getting it out. There you go. So, and if you have the power liftgate, you're going to have two harnesses. Just remember, black is on the passenger side, white is on the driver's side. So when you go and plug those back in. So from here, everything else is just pop clips. So just like the front doors, the rear doors, we're just going to kind of gently pull it down to release those clips and just kind of work our way around. Now this is the metal I was talking about earlier. It's super duper sharp and it goes all the way up. So just again, be careful. So just keep working your way around. And once you've basically gotten it all free, you can just kind of lift up towards the glass and release it from that top hinge there. So now we have everything off. We have our 3-inch speaker here, our 3-inch speaker here. So we'll just go ahead and take those bolts out. Go ahead and unplug those. Go ahead and unplug this one. So now we can go ahead, just pop these right back up and in. So that one on. There we go. Now let's tighten those bolts down. Now again, don't over tighten them. So now they're both on. Plug our connectors together. So from here, if you want to wire tie the wires just to make them nice and neat, you can go ahead and do that. So now that our rear hatch speakers are installed, we can go ahead, get this all back together, get everything plugged back in, and the next step is seeing the difference of sound between our factory speakers and our new 8 or 12 speaker bundle. So from here, we just want to make sure we hook this onto the back where the window is. Just kind of get it into place, slide it down, and then you should be able just to kind of get it all into place. And then we can go ahead and put all of our trim pieces back on. That on. Then we'll get our switch in, making sure white to the left, black to the right, and push back in. So now's the time that I've been super stoked and waiting for. Is installation's complete. Now I can actually get in and really hear the difference between the Alpine and the factory system. So now it's time to take a first listen. I felt like I should grab Cliff since he was at the beginning of the video. So let's give him a second showing. So turn it on, take a listen to it for the first time.
We got the 8-inch speakers in here, right?
Yep, so we have the 8-inch speakers in the doors,
Yep.
3s in the dash, tweeters in the A-pillars, 6.5s in the rear door, tweeters in the rear door, and then the 3s in the rear
The whole
hatch.
shebang. 12 speakers.
12 speakers out of the 14.
Yep.
So we obviously did not replace the JBL pill in the dash
Yep.
or the factory sub.
Yep.
So let's turn it on.
Let's give it a whirl.
Take a listen.
Yeah. Turn that baby up. I can feel the door moving.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing that I noticed, what I just said, as soon as the bass line came in, this door moved. I mean, that didn't happen before.
No. I mean,
right.
No.
So not only do you hear it, but you feel it. It's very validating. You know, like when you think about audio, like via video, it's hard to you can't exactly hear the improvement. We're telling them about the improvement. And not only do we get to tell them about, I felt the improvement, you know? So when doors move a little bit, that's a good sign. That's clearly the 8-inch
that
speaker
8-inch
in there.
mid-bass driver, yeah, absolutely.
Doing what it's supposed to do.
You know, the next big thing for this truck would probably be sound skins.
Yep.
You know, to kind of keep all of that musical motion
Yeah.
inside the vehicle and not let it transfer to the outside of the metal and shake the
All
metal
that
and
goodness.
stuff like. Yeah.
All that goodness, keep it inside. That's also what you said. What are your thoughts?
The speakers before were a 3. This is a 12.
Yeah.
Like, it's a night and day difference.
Yeah.
It is much louder. This sounds remarkably better.
Yeah.
With just adding speakers.
Right. Yeah. Only a speaker swap in here. You know, obviously you got this big beauty of a head unit, which is driving everything. It sounds wonderful. It's, you know, we say this in other videos. It really gives that sort of full body. I will tell you that these 8-inch, it's a distinct difference of the experience in a Toyota with this 8-inch versus the 6x9. Now, mind you, like we said in the beginning, the 6x9 is still going to be an upgrade over the factory 6 by
Whatever.
9.5, 7 by 10, whatever it is. It's a weird shape, but it's going to be an improvement. So whatever kit you go with, you're going to be sitting pretty compared to what you have now.
Super pleased.
Yeah.
You know, and just adding the sound skins will only improve your experience more.
Yep. So Sean gives it a 12 out of 10.
12-ish.
12-ish out of 10.
12-ish.
Take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. But hey, thanks for letting me come in and listen to this. Like, this is my first time hearing the 8-inch. Your first time.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I only really kind of test fit it, make
Yeah.
sure the brackets were good, that we could send them off to the wizard to have him finalize everything and make them on our CNC machine. But you know, I'm super stoked. They fit, they look good.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really see them, but you know, part of that whole process is trying it, fitting it. Does it hit the door panel? But you know, so on.
If
and
it's
so
not
forth.
done right, that the audio suffers.
Yeah, it's useless.
Yeah, exactly.
It's taking money and
Yeah.
throwing it out the window on your drive.
Yeah, so we make sure you don't throw money out the window on your drive.
Yeah.
You just have an amazing drive,
Amazing
full of great
drive.
audio. Just a recap from the beginning. We have really 4 different bundles we're kind of offering, but 2 per vehicle. So for example, we've got the JBL-amplified. We got the 12 speaker system. You get to choose between 6x9s in the doors or the 8-inch in the doors.
Correct.
So you got 12 speakers.
Yep.
You have the bass system. You got an 8-speaker bundle from us, and choosing between the 6x9s in the doors or the 8-inch in the door. So
Correct.
comprehensive solution, regardless of the 2025 plus 4Runner that you have. All right, great stuff, Sean. Why don't you tell them where to pick it up?
Well, you can pick it up at www.trailgridpro.com.
Absolutely. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.